Okay, for the Unit 7 GUI project, you've got two options. Option 1 is to create a Java applet registration form with a minimum of 5 fields and an OK or cancel button. You also need to create the HTML code to display your applet. In option 2, you can create a program to display a frame similar to the one shown below. So you can click on the link that gives you the Java tutorials, and using the swing components, there's many such example of these, but I'm going to show you one that I think is fairly simple and straightforward. So obviously I'm going to call this GUI example.java, and I'm going to import the Java AWT, and I'm going to import. If I'm going to do an applet, obviously I need to import java.applet. So I'm going to declare this particular class, I'll call it GUI example. See, I've saved it as GUI example.java. And it needs to extend applet in order to use it. So there we go. Public class GUI example extends applet, or whatever you decide to call your class, okay? So now we're going to create our buttons. Remember we went a OK button and a cancel button, so we're going to instantiate it. So I'm going to instantiate a button. I'm going to call it object button 1. And then I'm going to have a text field with it that tells the button what it is. So I'm going to call this text field object field 1. So that going to go with that button. Then I'm going to add me some labels. I'm going to instantiate 5 labels. So label, object label 1, label, object label 2. Obviously you can copy and paste this kind of thing and just copy it several times and just change the 1 to a 2 to a 3 to a 4 to a 5. We're supposed to have 5 of them, right? So there's your labels. And I'm also going to have my button 2. My button 2 is going to be my cancel button, right? So I'm going to have a text field that goes with that button. So it's going to say a cancel. So you know what the button does, okay? So we're going to have text fields that go along with these labels. Text field is where someone's going to type their information. Okay, so we're going to have 5 text fields. Okay, so next thing I do is I've got my object text field 1 there. So I need to have text fields for my other objects. So this one's going to go with the other label. Object text field 2, object text field 3, object text field 4, and object text field 5. So I instantiate those. And now I can write my coding. So I go public void initiate init. And now I'm going to name my buttons. The first button I'm going to name it OK. And my second button I'm going to name that cancel. Okay, so now I'm going to give the text field a certain width. So it's going to be blank. That's what this first one is. See, I have new text field. So I'm going to have it blank so the user can write something in there. And it's going to be 15 pixels wide. And I'm going to do the same thing with text field 2, text field 3, text field 4, text field 5. See, they're all have a space for the user to write something, and they're 15 pixels wide. Now I'm going to instantiate the labels that go with these text fields. So this new label 2, label 3, label 4, and label 5. I know we instantiated up here. We also have to declare a new one down here to be able to write them, okay? So now I set the text for the label 1 to say username. I set the text for label 2 to say password. I set the text for the label 3 to say confirm password. I set the text for label 4 to say name. I set the text for label 5 to say location. Then finally, I go and I add the labels. So I add object label 1, and I add the text field. Then I add object label 2, and I add that text field. Text fields that go with the different labels. So there's 3 in its text field, there's 4 in its text field, and there's 5 in its text field. Okay, then I add the object button 2. So here's the object button 1, that's okay. This last one is object button 2 is cancel. And there we go. So I've got the coding all set, all ready to go. I know it's a lot of writing, but like I said, for this, you would do something like this and copy and paste it several times and do this and copy and paste it several times. See, because you got 5 fields, you have to have 5 different instances of it. So it's a bunch of copy and paste, okay? When you get down to it and you finally add the objects, you're ready to go. So now we have to write our HTML code. HTML code is fairly simple. Okay, so our HTML is rather simple. We open our HTML document, we give it a header. You can title it whatever you want. We close out the header. And in the body, we're commanding it to run the applet code. And the name of our applet code is GUI example.class. And then we give our platform a height and width. Okay. So this is somewhat arbitrary, but that's a common height and width. So I close out the body and I close out the HTML and I file, save it as index.html, just like you did for the other examples in this chapter. Okay. So now normally what I would do is I would run this. I would go file, open, right, and it would run it in, say, Internet Explorer, Firefox, or whatever you got. But the problem is you get an error code because they've determined that there's a security risk involved with running these simple programs, so they won't let you do it. I've messed around with Java in my tried to add this to the security environment, and it just didn't happen. So what I did was I ran it in a simple text editor. I have BlueJ. So what I did, I put both the GUI example and the index.html. See that? So when I run this, I right click it and I run the applet. Gives me a chance. Do I want to run it as a web page? Well, we see what happens when you run it as a web page. So I'm just going to do it in the regular browser. And this is what it looks like. There you go. So there's your different text boxes. Here's your labels. And there's your cancel button, and there's your OK button. So that's what you should create. Now, if you have BlueJ and you want to run applets, there's a download you need to have. It's called appletown.jar, and you can just find it on the internet and download it. There's 3 or 4 of them like that, but that will run with your BlueJ if you've got BlueJ. Okay. There's other ones you can do. I think NetBeans has its own built-in applet generator that you can use with that. Okay, if you wanted to do the second example, it would look something like this. You'd import Java AWT, and I use user sample here. You can do what you want. You can set the title to frame example, set size to whatever you want, and then just show. So once again, you just have a frame. You instantiate a frame, a button, a text field, a label, a couple labels, a button, and a text field. And here's some other things you do. And you can set it to say whatever you want. OK and cancel once again. And other labels, username and password. So here are some labels, and of course they have certain boundaries here. 40 by 50 by 80 by 50. This is where it goes on the XY axis, and I don't have enough time to explain it, but you know from math that every object has a certain dimension. So this just shows you where it would be placed on the XY axis. So what you can see is that there's an XY axis, very similar to your math, but it zeros up at this end, and it goes higher this way. Y is flipped; it goes higher as it goes this way. So you have the dimensions of something expressed in this particular way. So what we're doing is we're expressing the X and Y coordinates for the particular labels. So that's what we're doing here. So we set it at 40, 50, 80, and 50. And if you've had Python, you probably understand this a little better. But these are how much you go up and over to the left and to the right. Okay, it just sets the boundaries of the particular fields. All right, there's labels, there's fields, and here's the button. It's the object 2 button. All right, then you go and you add the label. Two labels, add the text fields, and the buttons, and that's all you have to do. You run it. This is exactly what you'll come up with. Well, it's similar to it. Doesn't look exactly like it, but you get the general picture. So you get different things displayed in the frame. I think the first one's a little bit easier, but I just wanted to show you how to put them both together, and you can choose whichever option you'd like.